morning, America. It's Friday.
It's time for Mornings at 8 with Jonathan Mark on AM 1480 WLEA.
Well, yes, it is time for Mornings at 8, and here we are, 8:05 on a Friday morning. Finally Friday. The end of a very, very strange week. I mean, news-wise, and what a week. Well, as you heard, of course, it's going to get really hot. I mean, really hot the next couple of days. I know there's a heat advisory in effect for Allegheny County and one for Steuben County. And when you take the humidity and the temperature, we could have heat index readings of like 110 or something like that. And I remember on July 5th, a couple of weeks ago, in greater metropolitan Almond, where we live, we had a heat index of 117. 117, and that was just a little uncomfortable. So it's going to be a hot weekend. And as I mentioned, I think earlier this week, maybe yesterday, I don't remember, the day before, if you have little kids, little children, do not leave them in a locked car. If you're shopping or whatever you're doing, do not leave them in a hot car. Because as hot as it is outside, it's going to get a whole bunch hotter inside the car. And it could lead to dire consequences, right? Okay, so watch that. Also, there was a story on Fox News just a few moments ago about some guy who left a collie in a locked car, and the collie, was rescued. But dogs too, dogs, cats, any kind of pets, don't leave them in a hot car either, because they could die. So you have to be very, very careful. And just in general, just watch it because it's going to be awfully hot. Okay, let me see, kids and cars. Oh, Brian had a story, as a matter of fact, yesterday afternoon, too, where Congressman Tom Reed is going to be in Texas. He might be there right now. I don't know. But the Problem Solvers Caucus, including Tom Reed, are visiting a border detention center somewhere in Texas. So I'm really curious, most curious, as to what they find. Because recent visits by Democrats to those border detention centers, they've interpreted things one way, and we'll see how Tom Reed and his colleagues interpret what's going on down there. That should be most interesting. Well, let's see here. In kind of a related story, yeah, it's kind of related. This is from the Los Angeles Times. Tensions intensify between LAPD and ICE over immigration raids. Tensions between Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the LAPD have ramped up over the last month amid the Trump administration's loud threats to unleash immigration sweeps. Now, let's take that one word at a time here. Trump administration's loud threats, they're threatening to unleash immigration sweeps. In other words, what Trump's administration is threatening is to enforce federal law. So they're threatening to enforce federal law. That's what their threat was. That's like having a cop threatening to give you a ticket if you go through a red light, right? If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law. But anyway, loud threats to unleash immigration sweeps. As word spread about a national ICE operation expected to result in thousands of arrests, local officials tried to reassure immigrants in L.A. The LAPD chief, Michael Moore, said that ICE would target about 140 people in Southern California. 140. Not thousands, just 140. But apparently everybody got all panicky over this. In a video shared last week, Moore also stood beside Mayor Eric Garcetti as he told residents that they did not have to open their doors for an ICE agent who does not have a warrant signed by a judge. The LAPD chief's actions have provoked anger among ICE officials. Here's who's this. David Marin, the director of enforcement of removal operations for ICE in LA, said, "What's happened lately, particularly with the chief coming out, not only talking about our operation and releasing the numbers, but to do that video he did with the mayor, it's just really disappointing to us," said Marin. Marin said he felt the chief's actions made ICE's job harder. Probably did. We see that as they're really putting politics ahead of public safety, he said. It's been long-standing LAPD policy not to enforce federal immigration law, fearing those actions would make those here illegally too afraid to cooperate in crime fighting. And I wonder how readily these illegal immigrants cooperate in crime fighting anyway. You just got to wonder. Okay, Moore and others have stressed this in recent weeks. Marin said ICE isn't seeking the LAPD's help and doesn't understand why the department keeps raising the issue. We're not asking local law enforcement to enforce immigration law, Marin said. So when politicians and others come out and say we will not be helping ICE, we will not be enforcing immigration law, I don't know where that rhetoric comes from, because we're not asking them to help us. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, so the alleged raids, we're going to crack down on 2,000 illegal immigrants who have been issued their deportation orders and haven't complied. So, okay, they were going to deport 2,000 and about 140 in the LA area. That's not really a whole bunch. And just for comparison, talking about numbers here further on in the story, it's a very, very long story. In the LA area in fiscal year 2018, ICE made 7,854 administrative arrests, down nearly 600 from the year before. 7,854, 7,800, right? That number is nowhere near the number of arrests in the year for the fiscal year 2014, which totaled nearly 19,000. 19,000 in 2014, about 7,800 in 2018. There were a lot more in 2014, or for fiscal year 2013, which totaled roughly 25,000. So let me see, who was president in 2013? Who was president in 2014? So 19 and 25 is how much? You never heard anything. You never heard anything at all. And now you do. I wonder why. I mean, that's really strange, right? So there were far, far more in the previous 2 years, or the 3 years, I guess, than last. I don't understand it. Why wasn't a fuss raised then? And now it is. I can only guess, just a wild guess. Okay, talking about kind of strange stories here. This probably would be more suited for George Norrie and the Coast to Coast AM show, heard right here on LEA. What are the hours? 1 till 5, I think, Brian?
Yes.
1 till 5. Yeah, this should be Coast to Coast AM. This is from CBS News. House wants Pentagon IG Inspector General. House wants Pentagon Inspector General to examine whether U.S. weaponized ticks. Ticks. Whether U.S. weaponized ticks. It's typical for lawmakers to offer amendments to the sweeping National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, the defense spending bill that's reauthorized every term. And this year has been no different. One of the more unusual amendments is one offered by New Jersey Republican Representative Chris Smith to order the Pentagon Inspector General to conduct a review about whether the military experimented with making ticks into biological weapons. As I said, George Norrie, here you are. The amendment passed by the House last week by a voice vote would require the Pentagon Inspector General to examine, quote, whether the Department of Defense experimented with ticks and other insects regarding its use as a biological weapon between the years of 1950 and 1975. My amendment tasks the DoD Inspector General to ask the hard questions and report back, Smith said on the House floor Friday. During the debate on his amendment, Smith said the investigation would explore the following questions. Exactly what was the program, assuming that there was such a thing? Who ordered it? Was there ever any accidental release anywhere or at any time of any diseased ticks? Were any ticks released by design? Did the program contribute to the disease burden? Could any of this information help current-day researchers find a way to mitigate these diseases? The theory, which sounds like something straight out of a science fiction novel, contends that bioweapon specialists packed ticks with pathogens that could cause severe disabilities, disease, and death among potential enemies to the homeland. I've never liked that word homeland. I just don't. But anyway, Smith said he was inspired to add the amendment to the annual bill by a number of books and articles suggesting that significant research has been done at U.S. government. Wow. U.S. government facilities, including Fort Detrick, Maryland, and Plum Island in New York, to turn ticks and other insects into bioweapons. So that's what they want to find out, if the military weaponized ticks. Anyway, Smith has been a fierce advocate of raising awareness about Lyme disease and increasing prevention efforts. There's also a House Lyme disease caucus. And anyway, he's co-chair of that. A tick caucus. Okay. Anyway, so there we go. The CDC currently spends about $11 million on Lyme disease research every year. So it remains to be seen, it says here, whether Smith's tick amendment would make it into the final defense spending measure. And both the House and the Senate have passed their own versions, and soon representatives from both the House and the Senate will meet and to reconcile the two bills. So, and there's a picture of a tick, ugly little thing. Wow. Especially, in this, I just thought of it, in this weather. Ticks love this weather. Hot, humid, rainy. They love this kind of weather. So if you have pets, okay, when they come in, and they'll come inside to eat, right? So check them for ticks. Ticks, fleas, all that stuff. So there we have it. Weaponizing ticks. That was definitely just a little strange. And speaking about strange, lawsuits. People will sue over anything. I mean, you can sue anybody over anything, and good luck. This is from People magazine. Virginia man sues Godiva chocolates because the Belgium chocolates are not made in Belgium. And apparently it has this guy very, very upset. A Virginia man is taking legal action against Godiva after he claims their products were falsely advertised. The lawsuit, which was filed Wednesday, alleges that the chocolates purchased by the man in Washington, D.C. were not actually from Belgium, as they were advertised on the packaging, according to documents obtained by NBC. The lawsuit states that Belgium 1926 was displayed across the front of the chocolates, which would lead a reasonable consumer to assume that the product was made in Belgium at a premium price. Instead, the document reads, all Godiva chocolates sold in the United States are created at a plant in Reading, Pennsylvania. And the man is now seeking $74,000 in damages, including pain and suffering and all that. So he wants $74,000 because these Belgian chocolates are not made in Belgium. Okay, representatives at Godiva did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So that's that guy in Virginia. Belgium chocolates are not made in Belgium. Okay, that's one lawsuit. Here's another one. Reese's white peanut butter cups don't contain white chocolates, so people are suing. The Hershey Company is beloved by many of its signature candies like chocolate bars and kisses, but one of its products is leaving a bad taste in some consumers' mouth. In June, that was last month, a class action lawsuit was filed in New York by a group of people claiming that Reese's white peanut butter cups are misleading to consumers since they don't actually contain any cocoa butter, a key component of white chocolate, reports Legal Newswire. According to the suit, which was filed on June 26 in U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York, Hershey's has taken affirmative steps for consumers to mistakenly believe that the products contain white chocolate and has intentionally failed to correct the misimpressions. Though the packaging on Reese's white cups and other products does not specifically say white chocolate, the group is alleging that the packaging is still confusing and too ambiguous to the average consumer, who probably is pretty easily confused. The absence of any modifying term before or after white renders the products misleading because consumers are not able to differentiate between white chocolate and cheaper substitutes like compound or confectionery coating made from vegetable oils when the term white is applied to a product traditionally associated with chocolate, the suit states. And there we are. I don't know. So how much are they asking? Oh, it doesn't say how much they're asking. That's strange. Anyway, so a class action lawsuit against Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and I believe we have Rob Carolyn on the line, and here he is. Rob, I hope.
They're not white chocolate?
I'm just a reporter, Rob. Okay?
But
I'm just
I
a
just have
reporter.
clay feet.
I don't understand that. But anyway, so they're suing class action lawsuit as is pain and suffering and all that stuff. Weird. Okay, so speaking about weird, man, this weather is going to be pretty hot as I understand it here.
You are correct. The big question is, Brian, whether or not the showers and thunderstorms out over the Great Lakes and upper Midwest come through and kind of give us temporary relief from the heat each afternoon. We're tracking a couple of clusters of storms, some stretching from Michigan down into Illinois this morning, another batch over South and North Dakota. Both are moving off towards the east-southeast and may clip the southern tier later today and later tomorrow. So we may see our temperatures kind of cool off late in the day with those showers and thunderstorms trying to come through. We're in the process of turning partly sunny right now. Temperatures are going to be up to about 90 today, and there is the chance for a shower or thunderstorm this afternoon. Sunrise this morning was at 5:51. It'll set tonight at 8:42. Any showers or storms that we do see, they'll end during the evening. There'll be some lingering cloudiness overnight, 70 to 75. Tomorrow will turn partly sunny. We're hot, we're humid. Again, there's the chance of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. That may cool things off. They'll end tomorrow evening. We're down to 70 to 75. Sunday, we've got a frontal system headed our way. It's going to change the weather for next week. Partly sunny with afternoon thunderstorms Sunday, 85 to 90. By Monday and Tuesday, we turn sunny with daytime highs only 75 to 80, Jonathan.
Okay, 75 to 80. That's not bad at all. That's okay.
No, we're quite comfortable for mid-July.
Wow, it's going to be just a little... I mentioned on the air that I think on July 5th, we had a heat index at where I live of 117.
Yeah, we could be looking at heat indexes both tomorrow and Sunday above 100 degrees with the humidity. Again, it's going to depend on exactly what time those thunderstorms come in as to whether or not we can exceed 100 degrees for the heat index, but we're going to come close.
Okay, well, stay cool, Rob.
I'm going to try, and remember, it's not white chocolate.
I'll sue. That's right, I'll sue. Thanks.
You got it.
You'll see you. Bye.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
In golf, second round action at the 148th Open Championship going on right now at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland, and American J.B. Holmes, who led after the first round, is currently one of the co-leaders along with Tommy Fleetwood. Fleetwood just wrapped up his second round shooting. He was 4 under for the day and now 7 under for the tournament, as is J.B. Holmes, who through 11 holes is 2 under. Cameron Smith is 1 stroke back, and Brooks Koepka along with Jordan Spieth both playing well today. Koepka through 17 holes, 2 under. He's at 5 under par, and Spieth through 16 holes is 4 under. He's also at 5 under par. Both the Americans are 2 shots off of the lead. In baseball games of note, the Nationals beat the Braves 13-4. Washington starting pitcher Steven Strasburg, a big game. He got the win on the mound. Also went 3 for 3 at the plate with a home run and drove in 5. Brewers beat the Diamondbacks 5-1. It was the Yankees sweeping a doubleheader from the Rays by scores of 6-2 and 5-1.
From the Fox Business Network, Boeing says it will have expenses of nearly $5 billion in the spring quarter because of the grounding of its 737 MAX jets. Boeing reports earnings next week. The expense is expected to erase any profit for Boeing in the quarter. Microsoft reported a stronger than expected spring quarter. Its cloud computing business made up a third of its sales. Microsoft also owns search engine Bing, Skype, and business social network LinkedIn. WeWork co-founder and chief executive Adam Neumann has cashed out more than $700 million from the company. The Wall Street Journal says it's an unusual move because WeWork is preparing to go public. Stocks closed slightly higher yesterday. The Dow was up 3, the Nasdaq added 22, the S&P up 10. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Jenny Cosola.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%. APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 0.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
The Ryan Agencies, your local, independent insurance agencies. What does it mean that the Ryan Agency is independent? Well, it means they don't work for just one company. They work with many companies, putting your best interest first. Contact the Ryan Agencies today. Good local people, putting you first.
Insurance protection you can rely on. The Ryan Agency.
And we are back. Now, yesterday I had a story about a lady in Missoula, Montana, who ran a marathon. She's 35 years old. I don't remember her name. But anyway, she ran a marathon while pushing her 3 young children in a stroller. So she ran a marathon, and she's pushing approximately the 3 kids in the stroller, approximately maybe 185 pounds. Now, true, it was on wheels, but still, to run a marathon in the first place is I think it's kind of amazing. But to run a marathon while pushing a stroller with 3 kids, that was quite an accomplishment. Well, here's another one here. This is from something called For the Win. Woman who climbed Mount Rushmore barefoot is fined. All right. With family members watching, a woman from Nebraska climbed over a railing, ignored warning signs, and illegally climbed Mount Rushmore, reaching as high as 15 feet from the top of the sculpture between Washington and Jefferson. And here's a photograph of the Mount Rushmore. There's Washington, there's Jefferson, so it was right there. She climbed the iconic monument last Friday barefoot and without a rope. On Monday in federal court in Rapid City, South Dakota, Alexandria Incontro learned the cost of her ill-advised climb. She pleaded guilty to the crime and was fined $1,000 and a $30 fee, as reported by the Rapid City Journal. Charges of trespassing on property not open to the public, violated a closure of public use limit, and failed to obey a lawful order when were dropped by the prosecutors. Incontro was visiting Mount Rushmore from Omaha with her 2 children and more than a dozen other family members. So she began climbing Mount Rushmore just after 7 o'clock at night, prompting a federal officer and park ranger to respond. When told to come down, Incontro responded by saying something like, "Do you want me to come down fast or slow?" She did neither at first, continuing to climb even higher. And eventually Incontro agreed to climb down. She was then arrested and attended to by Keystone Ambulance medics. Keystone Ambulance. There's a straight line for you. The Keystone Ambulance guys. For scrapes to her limbs from falling on her way up the rock pile and minor wounds on her feet. And she was taken to the county jail. So, however, it says here, she was not the first person to scale Mount Rushmore. A 19-year-old was fined $1,000 after climbing out of the rock pile last July. And in 2009, 11 Greenpeace activists used ropes to climb up the back of the monument before some rappelled down the face of the sculptures and unfurled a banner calling for politicians to take action against global warming. Okay, the group had to pay $30,866 in fines, and there you go. So that was going on Mount Rushmore. And I have one more kind of a weird little story here. We'll leave this one for Monday. Yeah, I think so. That's interesting. This is from Motor1.com. Cadillac parked on Brooklyn Street for 25 years. 25 years finally towed. There was an old rusty Cadillac parked on Brooklyn Street for 25 years. It's been there since 1994. 25 years later, the 1971 Caddy made its final run being towed away by the NYPD. The New York Daily News reports the vehicle was a local landmark, and the guy who owned it was mentally incompetent, apparently, and so they finally towed his car. Why wasn't it towed in all these years? It sat there on the street for all these years, and oddly enough, it had a current inspection sticker on it. But nobody ever saw the car being driven or even moved in 25 years. So there we go. Okay, so they finally towed that car, and there you go. Alrighty, so that takes care of that, and we are here, and this is here, put this here, and I will see you Monday at 8:05. Bye.